yeah, correct. I did have one of the guys, so I did actually have 2 ticket sales. But the reason why I did the ticket thing was just so I had a rough idea of potential numbers, yeah. And I did have another guy book a ticket, but...
Can I just clarify, is no gaming here, right?
I prefer no gaming, but you know what, sometimes I like over here, and you could make it when I'm over here.
Yeah.
Hallways and that.
Okay.
We'll stop and have a little vape break.
Cool.
So it should run for about an hour and a half or so. 2 seconds.
Cool.
Welcome to the Music Business Mindset Masterclass workshop. So essentially, it's the purpose of this is to give artists and musicians and producers and industry professionals some tools and some systems to help just keep on top of things and not get bogged down and not get too hard done by with failure. So just to stay positive and basically help build a career, not necessarily get famous, but an actual sort of sustainable living from music. So who am I? I'm a musician with over 10 years, well almost 20 years of professional experience. I've helped artists and stuff, I did a bit of consulting, been all different types of gigs and worked with a lot of different artists and have noticed a lot of the same trends, which is sort of what spurred this up in my little brain. So yeah. Why this workshop? So the music industry is so hard, especially in today's climate. As an artist, you have to, unless you're signed, you have to do everything. From recording, writing, all the main bits as a musician, but then you've got to be a manager, a social media expert, a marketer, distributor, etc. And it can get really, really overwhelming and bog people down. So this workshop is divided into 5 sections. First of which is career foundations. I don't know why that's green, but it's fine. And the idea with this section, bear with me, my mouse over here, is if you don't have a foundation, a good foundation, a good system set up, it makes everything else harder in the long term. So this section is about getting everything to work, you do to work for you and not against you. There we go. Yeah, the problem is that most artists are doing a lot, but not always moving forward and quite stagnated and staying in one place for too long. And this tends to show up in 4 ways, which is people are unsure what to focus on, doing too many things at once and feeling overwhelmed and with no real clear plan. I need a little clicker or something, really. And so yeah, so the solution isn't necessarily to do more work, it's really about doing less work and make it more focused and structured for you. This is so awkward. Okay, so this section has got 3 different systems, tools, however you want to look at it, to help set that foundation up. We've got the 80-20 rule, which is definitely more of a guideline as opposed to a set in stone thing. But just from the research that I've done, a lot of artists tend to spend more time doing other stuff and creating music, which kind of sounds super counterintuitive. So with this system, if you manage your time right, you should really only be spending 20% of your time doing all of the admin and management stuff, and having sort of 80% of your time being creative. So the way I suggest to do this is to set one day a week, probably at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, where you just dedicate that day or a large portion of that day to getting all your stuff done. So what I would call it is a management day, where you get your emails, outreach, admin, planning done. The easiest way to implement this is to choose, like say, one day of the week, and you just get everything done in one go, and then you can spend the rest of your time focusing on what you want to do, writing music and being an artist. Obviously, probably do some content in between that as well, but that's the way of the world. Basically, this helps removes the constant switching between different tasks, and feeling guilty about not actually doing any of the admin, and that way it's all done. You don't even think about it, it's all done. We maybe need to respond to the odd message here or there, but that's it. The next tool is the one thing. So something that I struggle with is trying to do too many different things all at the same time. And this system is super simple. It's just focus on one thing at a time. Don't do too much. Don't try and write a song, email your booking agent, and promote your next single all at the same time. Just do one at a time. You're going to write a song, write a song. The other stuff can be either done on your management day or later. Or if you've got some emails to reply to, just do the emails. Try not to split the time too far. The next one, so yeah, that's super simple, it's really easy. And then this one is really, really useful. So the minimum viable week. Basically, what I'd suggest with this is every week you have certain things that you have to get done. If you're having a good week, great, do more. But have basically like a minimum amount of things to do. So it's a little task we can do. The way I would do this is to write down what your ideal week looks like. So write everything that you would ideally like to get done on a good week, and then after that, write down what you actually need to do. So have like two different lists: what you would like to get done, what you need to get done, and then the list of what you need to get done is your minimum viable week. And just make sure that gets done every week by using your management day and focusing on one thing at a time. Yes?
Is it going to be like ideal week musically specifically, and then what about you need to do musically specifically, or are you including live stuff?
I would say to do everything. So include your live stuff as well, because obviously if you've got a job, you need to do your job. Like that's some kind of a necessity. You know, but yeah, so I would definitely include both aspects of that. Obviously this is sort of more geared towards music, but definitely include like the work and everything. Especially if you've got multiple jobs, or you know, you've got like a day job and a gig as well. It just helps organise your time a little bit better. And then that way, when you come to your minimum viable week, you know, that's, you go to work, you do your gig on the weekend or whatever, and make sure that you've got any other, like say you're booking a show, make sure to respond to that email from your booking agent or the venue or whatever. But then be okay with that. You've done what you need to do. Don't feel guilty about doing other stuff, you know? Yeah.
Or is this like an idea?
Oh, so I was going to do a mini task of like just what your minimum week is, if you want to do that.
I don't mind this.
Yeah, cool, yeah, it'll take a couple of minutes. So yeah, so just focus on your minimum viable week for this task, and then you can do
I'm sorry, write the essay, and he's just like, oh, what not to do? It's like writing every possible thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Take time.
You can get some ironic thing to go on in the meantime.
I will do for the next time. Some good feedback.
Countdown thing, if you like.
Yeah, but like a 5-minute movie bit where it doesn't ever quite hit till the 5-minute point, at which point it cuts out.
What I might do
You know what?
is-
Exactly. I reckon that's fine.
I will look at the task.
what I might do is I might sample the Samsung washing machine theme tune. That thing goes on forever, and just when you think it's going to finish, it starts again and starts again and starts again.
Or that like the NatWest bulb gig.
Yeah.
It just like distort the fuck out.
Yeah.
Sax solo comes in and you're like,
No worries, no worries.
I just found 1 hour of countdown block. Maybe you can find just normal background music.
Yeah.
I think 5 minutes of blast beats. It's like no, leading nowhere.
Whatever helps.
Okay.
I like your week.
I'll just slow my rate up. I got confused with the line, I know it's better. I just came to a second.
I think this song is approximately 5 minutes actually, so
4:16. You know, you just spend a lot of time talking about countdown.
yeah. I'm definitely getting this later. chat.
Is this this is all like very professionally kind of unique to you, I think, unless you've been in a few different masterclasses. How many of these talking points have you kind of gleaned from things you've been to before? Like, is this particular task something that you kind of conjured yourself, or is it one that you've conjured?
This is more. I've tried basically everything in this has come from research into productivity systems that I use for like entrepreneurs and whatever, but I've tried to convert it into like musical terms for musicians and that.
The reason I was going to say
Yeah.
anything is because, say for me for instance, there's a lot of neurodivergence in music. For me specifically, the ADHD being as intense as it is like my ideal week. So I think the wording might be a little bit confusing, at least for my brain. Because ideal week for me is like a pipe dream, because I struggle with that anyway. And then what I actually need to do often is also the ideal week, because if my ideal week would be doing the things I need to do and it being fun. So I get the feeling that what this is aiming for is more like how your week just currently goes. And you did elaborate before, but my brain forgets that. I'm also looking back at the words again. So it might be worth potentially rewording that a little bit to make it clearer, but because I'm like here now, because I was getting through my ideal week, and it's going to look like what I need to do, plus probably all the admin, like checking the job stuff. I'm looking part-time, and then do admin for the stuff. So to be fair, I wouldn't got that much to do. But what I'm basically saying is that it's a really cool idea, but is the target audience well on your impression keeps and
Yeah.
So I
I'm
don't know.
more mindful of that thing.
Yeah,
I do. Okay, cool. Thank you. That's good feedback. There is a feedback form as well. But also do stop me because it's just us. So,
I don't want to bring that up.
No, not at all. I think the roundup might be a good thing potentially. So bringing this whole section together is basically just choose your main focus, set your manager date, and define your minimum viable week, and just try and work towards the same direction. Specifically with music, this bit. So just if you've got a goal that you're aiming towards, try and match this stuff towards that goal instead of like go to the toilet in the wind. I don't know how. I'm just trying to be peachy.
I wouldn't go that.
But yeah, so that's sort of the main goal with that section. This one might be a good one, especially for you. So there's creativity and flow. Try to make some nice little icons. Right, so this section is about understanding how your creativity actually works and how to create consistency without relying on motivation, because motivation sucks and isn't a real thing. It is, but it's really hard to just rely on that. The creative process, this section, like I say, is about how creativity actually works and how to create consistently without relying on motivation. A lot of artists think that they struggle with creativity. In reality, most artists don't struggle with ideas, they struggle with turning those ideas into finished work. Or not finished work, and that's okay too. From the research that I've done, ideas are captured but not developed. Creative work feels inconsistent, it's hard to focus or finish things, and progress is easily disrupted. The main problem is that one of the biggest misconceptions is creativity is something that just happens. It does, but there are things you can do to allow that just happens moment to come up more frequently. So if you don't know what you're working towards, in reality, creativity is heavily influenced by your environment, your structure, and your current situation. If you don't know what you're working towards, or waiting, or if you're waiting on other people, it becomes very difficult to create. This often leads to a stop-start cycle. You have an idea, you start working, something interrupts the process, you lose momentum, and over time this builds frustration and inconsistency, which I think if you're any kind of creative, that's quite a common thing that comes up. So these, I think I've got 4 tools for this one. So I've got the idea capture system, separate creation from completion, reduce external dependency, and create the right environment and remove pressure. So the idea of capture system is basically to always have a way to record or make a note of that idea. So one thing that I do go into a bit later as well that really helps with this is at home, when you've got your set up at home, is to not put stuff away at the end of a session or a practice session or something, is just to leave it there so that when you get that moment of, oh, I just want to pick up the guitar or the bass or whatever, it's there, right? You don't need to do anything. Leave it plugged in unless you've got an active bass, in which case plug it. But just basically make everything that you're doing as easy to start as possible. Whether that be writing songs or practicing, whatever it is. So that's basically the idea of that. The next one is to separate creation from completion. A huge blocker is trying to do everything at once, writing, producing, editing, finishing, all different processes. So when you're doing a project, you don't do it all at the same time necessarily. I mean, some people like to write and produce at the same time, which kind of works, you know. You record the guitar part or whatever, and then it's already part of the song, you put the drumming to that section. But they're still 2 separate processes in a way. But defining what stage you're at and really trying to stick to that as much as possible basically helps with just keeping things simple and not getting too overwhelmed. So having sessions purely focused on creating ideas and separate sessions on developing and finishing the idea that you're sort of working on at that time. Awesome. So all these things are quite simple things, but when you stack them together over time, it becomes quite powerful and helpful, and they're all sort of interlock as well. I think I skipped a little bit too far there. Reducing external dependency. So essentially with this is try to reduce the amount of reliability or reliance you need on other people to do things. So try and give yourself a budget to set up a home studio, at least for the demo stages anyway. You know, with getting that creativity down yourself is so much easier. Learning a DAW or basic uses of a DAW. If you've got a song idea, so this is one thing that I've sort of need to say with a pinch of salt. Collaboration is a good thing, but relying on other people to actually show up is another thing. So if you have an idea and you're working on a song with someone else, communicate with them, but don't necessarily rely on them to do what they need to do on their own, basically. Essentially. But like I say, take that with a pinch of salt. You know, if you've got a writing partner or a band that are super on the same page, absolutely utilise that as much as possible. And then the last one is creating the right environment, which is sort of what I said a minute ago. But it's not just about having your setup ready to go. It's make sure you've got time, space, and focus. Being comfortable with that fact that you don't have to finish everything, which kind of contradicts what I said before, but some songs aren't meant to be finished. You know, if you're working on something and you just can't get it, it's okay to shelf it, and don't feel bad about that. You don't have to finish that thing there and then. You know, 6 months down the line, you might be like writing another idea, and be like, oh damn, that thing from 6 months ago is exactly what's going to work with this. If you try and force every idea to be complete, you create pressure, and that pressure often stops you from creating at all. You get a sort of creative freezing. Start ideas, explore them, leave them unfinished, and come back to them later is okay. But also just making sure your environment at home is somewhere that you want to work. I struggle working from home because I am very easily distracted, and my Xbox is right there, and my child is crying in the other room, so it's really challenging. So I often have to go work at a coffee shop or something, or co-working space or something like that. But you know, if you've got your own space at home, just make sure it's an environment you want to be in. Make sure it's like clean and tidy. That really helps. Having some plants, some oxygen, some greens, some nature. Go for a walk if you need to. Just making sure that your environment that you're creating is healthy and productive, as opposed to sort of, you know, if you've got to rummage through 7 boxes to find one guitar cable, that's going to hinder your progress, you know. And then bringing all this together, you don't need more ideas, you need a better way of working with the ideas you already have. And you can do that by capturing the ideas as they come, separating creating from finishing, removing reliance on others, and reducing pressure to complete everything. You create a system where creativity becomes consistent and not occasional. This means you create more, you finish more work, ironically, and you build real momentum over time. And when that happens, creativity stops feeling unpredictable, it starts becoming something you can rely on. 2 seconds. Really need a clicker. So the next section, we can take a break here if you want. We've got 3 more sort of to get through, but I think it's a good little stop because it's a lot of information very quickly, which I appreciate.
So yeah, and that person because if the whole group agrees, yeah, so what, let's say 5. I think we can, if you look up from like, would you prefer wait till the form?
No. Well, if you don't mind doing the form as well.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
It's not so much like it's crazy how this line is covered with an Have you seen the little place?
No.
Like literally the 2 bases. I never really listened to this part, I just knew it was a riff. And then the guy, he goes, like, my brain's like, is that drums? Is that double phones? He literally goes,
It's all fun.
you're like, oh,
It's crazy, yeah.
that's annoying.
Yeah.
Or lactic acid is
Awesome. Thank you. Amazing. Right. Well, so the next section is about consistency and discipline. I think I've got. Essentially, it's about understanding how to stay consistent even when you don't feel motivated. Again, bogey word, motivated. The problem that many artists believe is that they need to be productive every day, feel motivated all the time, and always perform at their best, which is incorrect. That is absolutely not the case. In reality, this leads to burnout, guilt, and start-stop progress, like the other thing with creativity. You don't always, you have days where everything flows, and days where nothing seems to work. The issue isn't consistency itself, it's how you respond to it. Perfect. So the first one we're going to go over is the compound effect. This section is going to be a little bit longer than the other two, just because there's a bit more behind this. So one of the biggest misconceptions about progress is that it comes from big, intense bursts of effort. But actually most progress comes from small actions repeated over time. The thing that felt small in the moment, replying to an email, organising your files, or finishing a small task, often has the biggest impact later. They save you time, reduce stress, and make everything else easier. One of the biggest challenges artists face is feeling overwhelmed by lots of small responsibilities. Ignoring these things can have really negative effects later on, especially when you take care of small things early, you create momentum. When you ignore them, they build up and slow you down. Small actions today lead to smoother workflows, better organisation, more time in the future, and less mental load. This is also where your minimum viable week becomes important. Even in tougher weeks where you don't have much energy or time, maintaining a small number of key actions keeps everything moving. I've got a little mini task for this one. What are 3 or 4 smaller actions that you do on a daily or weekly basis that you can implement and be consistent with?
One more time.
Well, sorry, I don't actually have a one here. But yeah, so what are 3 or 4 smaller actions that you can do, that you need to do on a daily or weekly basis that you can implement and be consistent with? So like 3 or 4 small things that you should be doing each week, like file management, email, whatever it is, that if you did consistently would benefit. Or even 1 or 2.
Specific to music?
Not necessarily.
Exercise.
Exercise, yeah. That's important for music.
Yeah,
100%.
it's for everything.
Yeah.
And planned rest. Planned chill out time.
Yes. I've got that coming up, don't worry. Yeah, but that, yeah, exercise is huge. Like, it doesn't have to be like go smash 120 kilogram squats at the gym. It means go for a walk. 100% getting out in the green and touching grass is super valuable. Yeah, awesome. But yeah, so essentially the whole point of this is, this kind of ties into another point in a bit as well, but it's just doing the small things regular and often, especially if you do it on your management day, that will just keep things ticking over and won't bog you down later. Remove all or nothing thinking. Yes. One of the biggest blockers to consistency is the idea that you can't do everything, there is no point in doing it, which obviously isn't great. So, so this leads to missed days, lost momentum and frustration. Instead, shift your thinking. Something is always better than nothing. Small actions still count, especially when they keep things moving. So this ties in really nicely with the last point, is just doing those small little consistent things like exercise, whatever it is you need to do. But particularly pertaining to your career as a musician, I think it's, even if it's just 10 minutes of practice a day, or, you find out what it is for yourself that you need to do, but just make sure that you do those little things just for you every single day or every week. Really sort of helps with just keeping things moving forward. And it takes away that a little bit as well, the whole thing of all or nothing thinking. The next one is build external structure. So relying purely on motivation is unreliable. This will be well done. Even if you are highly driven, your energy, focus and mood will fluctuate. And when they drop, your output usually drops with them. This is where external structure becomes essential. External structure means creating systems outside of your own willpower that keep you moving forward. Instead of relying on how you feel, or rely on what's already been put in place. What this looks like in practice is external structure can take many forms, but the goal is always the same: reduce decision making and increase follow through. This could include scheduling your time in advance, deadlines, self-imposed or external, accountability, so working with collaborators, mentors, or even just telling someone your plan, so you're more likely to follow through. And commitment-based actions, saying yes to opportunities, gigs, sessions, meetings that require you to show up and take action. So obviously I know we briefly spoke about the accountability thing, and I think that's just having one or two people that you communicate with, not necessarily rely on, but can talk to about what's going on. From the research that I've done, one of the most consistent patterns is this: when something's booked in, it gets done. When it's left open, it often doesn't. External structure removes overthinking, procrastination, and reliance on motivation. And then instead of trying to be more disciplined, you build a system that makes discipline easier as opposed to more do it because you have to. Next section is this. So work with your energy and not against it. I think this is going to be quite a good one for you as well. Not every day will feel the same, and that's normal. Sometimes you'll have high energy, strong focus, creative flow. Other days you won't. Instead of forcing the same output every day, adjust your expectations. High energy days equals deep work. Low energy days equals small important tasks. And like the sort of minimum viable week, this ties in really well with that, and your ideal week. And it doesn't have to be on a weekly basis. It doesn't even have to be on a daily basis. It could be from hour to hour, because sometimes you have a conversation with someone and it bums you up, and then that could kill any positivity that you had to work with. So in that moment, just switch to doing the less important things, but the things that still keep things going. Awesome. And then bring all this together. So if you take one thing from this section, it's that you don't need to be consistently the best, you just need to keep things moving by focusing on small actions that make future work easier, maintaining key tasks even in difficult weeks, removing all or nothing thinking, and building structure into your week, and working with your energy. You create a system where progress continues even when motivation doesn't, and over time that consistency builds momentum. I've got a section in a bit about the butterfly effect, and that also ties in quite well. Perfect. Mindset development. This is one of my favourite sections. So this section is about how you think and react when things don't go to plan, because at some point they probably won't. And that happens a lot for most people, especially in the music industry. Building a career in music isn't about getting everything right, it's about how you respond. Building a career in music isn't about everything going right, it's about how you respond to it when it doesn't. So the problem is that most artists think they lack ability, they stop because progress is all. With that, it's not just ability, but if you're struggling to finish a song, for example, sometimes your mindset can switch from you feeling like you're not good enough to do it, or you're not positive about your own creativity. And that often leads to slower progress than expected. The result's not matching the effort, so you're putting so much into something, and then at the end of it, you don't feel like you've done anything anyway. And things that don't work how they thought they would. This leads to frustration, self-doubt, hesitation, and eventually stopping altogether. The issue isn't difficulty or failure, it's how these experiences are interpreted. That's not a word. Instead of asking, why isn't this working, or am I good enough, a better question is, what does this negative thing that happened tell me, and how do I move forward? It's just about reframing that thing is that you're not good enough, but that's how you think now, but why wasn't what I did, like what does the lesser outcome tell you, and how do you move forward from that? So for me, for example, I need to think of an example for that, but that is. But yeah, basically long-term progress is built on persistence, learning and adjustment. It's not just about hating on yourself. So some tools to build that resilience. Yeah, so it's grit, staying in the game. Basically, even when things aren't going so well, just moving forward anyway and persevering through it. Understanding failure as feedback, not as a negative thing, and direction anchoring your why. So grit, grit is an amazing concept. Most people just think, oh yeah, grit is sort of being tough in hard situations, and it's not just that. It's the ability to continue when things are difficult, unclear, or not immediately rewarding. It's not about talent, it's not about motivation, but it is about how long you're willing to keep going. In the music industry, almost everything takes longer than expected. You will have releases that don't perform how you hoped, opportunities that fall through, and long periods where it feels like nothing's happening. Grit is what allows you to come through those periods while others stop. So a really good, there's a book called Grit, which I would highly recommend reading or listening to, or do a book. The lady who wrote it has done over a decade's worth of research into this with not just musicians, but swimmers, other athletes, other creative types. And she's got some really, really good insights. And especially as a student as well, like one of the stories she talks about is herself, where she took a subject at university that she was interested in but didn't understand how difficult it would be. She kept getting really low grades, and her lecturer eventually said to her that you should probably switch your major to something else. And just the raw defiance in her was like, no, I will succeed, I will do this. And eventually she did, just through hard work and determination and just not giving up, basically. Most artists don't fail because they aren't good enough, they stop because progress feels too slow, results don't match the effort, or they lose belief that things don't work quickly. The difference is simple. Some people stop, others keep going. You can develop grit by expect things to take longer than you think. So just giving yourself an extra, say you've got 4 weeks to release your single, give yourself 6 weeks. Give yourself longer than you think you need. Detach effort from immediate results. This one's particularly powerful because if the effort doesn't equal good or bad. Sometimes you put so much effort into something and it doesn't go as planned. Sometimes you put not much effort into it and the results are way better than what you thought they were. So just detaching the emotional side of what you're doing from the effort you put in. Reducing emotional reactions to setbacks is a really powerful thing as well. Obviously as a musician or an artist, everything you do is emotional to some degree, but ultimately you're not doing it for really anyone else, you're doing it for yourself. And most emotional reactions are based on what others think of you. And removing and separating that in your brain is really, really powerful. And basically just focus on staying in the game. So, there's what's his name? Bear with me. I realize this sometimes. Bill Withers was an airport cleaner until he was 38, which is when his first album came out, and went crazy on the charts. Yes.
Yeah, because he was massive in like South Africa.
Yeah.
I heard about that yesterday.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But his example was, he was 38 by the time he actually released his first album and started his career in music. Well, say started, he'd been doing it for a long time, but before his main thing was music. Which, sometimes things just take a long time, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And as I was saying before, success in music isn't necessarily being massively famous. It's keeping the roof over your head and food on the table.
Alan Meeks from like Disco, because he left as their bass player and then started his original project. He was 40, basically, and like no one knew. Because he was
No, that's okay. But at the same time, if he just kept going with it and sort of changed his mindset and stuff, potentially could have altered people not giving a shit.
Sorry, I mean, no one knew shit. He was older.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that bit. Yeah, exactly. No one cares if you're older or younger. But yeah, over time, skills improve, opportunities increase, and momentum builds. And you get better at identifying what opportunities are worth your time and what aren't, which is a big one. Failure is feedback. This is the next system. Failure is often seen as something negative, something to avoid, but in reality it's one of the most useful tools you have, because failure is life's university, and I stand by that quote. I've heard it from multiple different people. Failure is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. It means that you can learn. If you fail, you're learning. Depending on how you take it, but take it as a good thing. So basically, in an industry with no guaranteed outcomes, failure isn't optional, it's part of the process. It's going to happen. It's going to happen way more than you want it to. So instead of getting depressed about it, use it powerfully and learn from it. Again, it's about removing your emotional reaction to certain things. When failure is treated as data, it becomes a tool for improvement. Got a little mini task. Can you think of an example where you have failed or something didn't quite work out? How did it, so these are 3 questions just down there. How did it make you feel? Were you emotionally attached to it? And how long did it take to move forward?
Yes. I mean, I think not meeting other than when I have managed to set myself a deadline for my original project on my own variables, regardless, didn't happen, and then things happened that stopped me continuing, so it felt like a failure. It is an emotion. Yes, emotionally attached to it because it comes with my life. It is you at the end of the day. How long does it take to move forward? I'll let you know. Already a year.
Did the failure happen because of a reason in particular, or did the reason, in your case there, did the you said that you didn't reach the target, and then things happened, or was it all around the same sort of time? Was you not reaching your target a reaction or an effect of those bad things?
I think it. So what was the initial question you just asked before we elaborate?
Yeah.
What was the initial question you just asked?
Oh, sorry. Was the negative thing that happened? Was that the main influencer for you feeling like you'd failed or not hitting your targets?
Yeah, I think that what you were saying before was like looking at what's because of, or is it because of,
Yeah.
chicken or the egg, basically.
Yeah.
And I think I at the time attributed it to personal failing because of my inability to keep up with my own meds at the time, and then real life stuff fell by the wayside.
Sure.
So I definitely viewed it as a personal failure because I wasn't in a place where there are lots of people that I knew to help me to verify that.
Yeah.
And it's not conscious, it just hangs around the back and causes it.
Yeah.
And then it made continuing the next failure, but then not continuing with it afterwards and waiting months and months until I became too afraid of it. So, basically.
Yeah, interesting. So the thing that I would say in this situation, I mean, obviously, it sounds pretty deep, and like I need to be kind of careful with the advice that I give with this. But what I would suggest is try and like now that a year's gone by, look at it kind of analytically and sort of try and identify what the problem was and how you could prevent that from happening again, and what you need to do, whether that be, well, I think you probably actioned that because you moved back to here, or was this before that?
That was after a few more failures, but yes.
Okay, yeah.
No. It's as you say, it's like
Yeah.
when you can get to grips with it, like it's then becomes your animal and your tool set as to what not to do.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. So it's well, not to, that's the learning from it, is try and avoid that situation again and fail a different way instead.
How to accommodate yourself
Yeah.
and give yourself a break with the scenarios and acknowledge where things will fit.
Yeah. I think that's, in that particular example for you sounds quite difficult. But even as it's like just not quite meeting a deadline that you set for yourself, it's like, okay, was it because I didn't have the time and I didn't give myself enough time to do it, or was it because I was doing all the stuff, or like that kind of thing. Sort of one more simple level, I guess. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. No, not perfect that you had a bad time, but it was a really good example to talk about there. Yeah. But yeah, so basically how to apply grit is to, not grit, we've done that. How to apply the failure as feedback thing is to separate the outcome from the identity of the failure. Turn results into feedback. Expect some things to not work and apply what you learn quickly. And then it basically allows you to improve faster, make better decisions, and keep moving forward. The next one is really, really cool as well. So I like this. It's direction anchoring. That's a fancy name for your why, basically. When things get difficult, it's easy to lose focus or question what you're doing. This is where having a clear direction becomes essential. Your direction acts as an anchor. It gives you something to return to when you feel stuck, things aren't working, or you're not sure what to do next. Essentially, keep asking yourself why. This is a good exercise, let's do it. It's not on the program, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why did you get into music? Better question, what is your main driver for being a musician? What's your initial gain from it?
Expression, sense of belonging and reason.
Why does music give you that?
Because it's the way I've always been best able to express and articulate who I am when school and social norms didn't allow me to do that. So that I think it's essential. Because
We got to the point very quickly with that exercise actually. Normally it takes about 6 or 7
I'm going to try again.
No, but that's really good. But that's, I feel like you've thought about this. But that's, and that concept there, that idea that you just spoke about, use that as a North Star, and every single time that you fail, or every single time that you've got to hit a roadblock, or you don't feel like you're doing the right thing, just revert back to that to reignite that fire. Exactly. Yeah. It kind of goes back to the first section, the foundations and stuff. That's it. All ties in. I thought about this.
Or really get a couple of like phrases for.
Yeah. No, please. Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, but define what you're working towards, revisit it regularly, and use it to guide your decisions. And if something you come up against, I don't know, say you're having a meeting with a potential manager or label or something like that, and what they're saying doesn't align with your North Star or your why, don't do it. Because you will battle with yourself forever until you get out of that situation. There will be other opportunities, which is to put yourself in the right position. Yeah, basically. So that's that. And the main takeaway isn't the Chinese. Success in music isn't about everything going right, it's about continuing when it doesn't. Do that by developing grit and staying in the game, using failure as feedback and not something personal, and anchoring yourself to a clear direction. You create a mindset that allows you to keep moving forward regardless of the outcome. And what's the last thing? Do you want to have a quick break? Or do you want to just power through? Perfect. Financial sustainability. This one, really important, but this isn't going to be how to make money. It's about how to make the best use of the money that you have. So this section is about building simple systems to manage money in a way that supports your career long term. Financial systems for sustainability. So opportunity and cost system, income allocation system, and time value. Just skip ahead to that one, so I don't have to keep going forth with this. Basically, this section is about building simple systems to manage money in a way that supports your career long term. Money isn't just something you earn, it directly affects what you're able to do. Just want to preface, I'm not a financial expert, ask my bank accounts, but this is just stuff that I've researched, verified with other people, and do try and implement myself. So the problem is that most artists don't have a system for handling money. Instead, the decisions are made emotionally, reactively, based on short-term thinking, which leads to inconsistent progress, missed opportunities, financial stress, or investing in the wrong things. There's nothing worse than letting financial stress get in the way of creativity. It can destroy your creative side of your brain. Just the stress and pressure of money can suck. But it's not just about making more money, it is about how to use the money that you do have available after rent and food and bills are paid for. And basically how do you use the money that you have to keep moving forwards. It's not necessarily spend £6,000 on a marketing campaign and only £200 on your recording, or vice versa. So we've got the opportunity cost system. Every financial decision has a trade-off. Spending more money on one thing means that not spending it on something else. This applies to both money and time, and time is money. So before making a decision, run this simple check. What does this give me, and what does it cost me? For example, take a £100 colours gig. So you're doing a pub gig for £100, gives you income, but it may cost you time that could be used elsewhere. Spending £200 on a video gives you gives content, but removes budget from other areas. Without this system, decisions feel random. With it, decisions become intentional, aligned, and easier to justify. So an example that I can give, especially as you're a bass player, is that if you need money, take a gig. need to pay rent, it doesn't matter at that point. That's the first priority. If you're okay for that month for money, and say, I don't know, you've been invited for a meeting with a potential manager or a potential distributor or booking agent or something like that, could that opportunity provide more for you in your career than earning 100 grand? Or, better yet, for me, for example, would actually taking a night off or half a day off working and spending that time with my son be more beneficial to me personally than taking a £100 puppy? I don't necessarily need. It doesn't just have to be related to music, but it can be related to personal things as well. For me, if I don't need the money, I'd rather spend that time with my son, especially because I like drawing. So, yeah. Obviously, if you need the money, pay your rent. Get that sorted out first. Yeah, and then equally with spending money, you know, is there a way that you can do that without spending the money? Even if it's not quite as good, does that matter? If the answer is no, then don't spend the money. If you can do something yourself, if you can record the bass part at home instead of playing in the studio, record it at home. Yeah, or like, you know, just learn how to use your phone's camera so you can get some sick angles. Like, you know, MySpace era existed for a reason. But yeah, so.
I think that will flash now anyway, they just want
Yeah,
room.
exactly. Most social media content these days is as raw as possible. So you know, you don't need to hire a team to do it. So you've got the income allocation system. So not all money should be treated the same. If everything you earn is seen as spendable, it becomes very difficult to build anything long term. So basically, this sort of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. Split your income into clear categories. Living and survival, so rent, bills, day-to-day life, that is your top priority. That is the first thing that matters. Secondly, reinvestment into your career. As musicians, this is pretty important. So that could be like saving money for recording, content, marketing, development. And then make sure you've got a buffer as well. Savings, emergency, and flexibility. I would maybe put buffer above the reinvestment, to be honest with you. Because you know, if you do drive and your tyre blows, you need to get your tyre, and you've got that money, that's going to come out of your music budget, which will then feel like a failure and sends down spirals. Don't do that. Make sure you've always got a little bit of money somewhere. And with that, like, it also allows you to, with having the buffer, or you know, if an opportunity does arise, you've got some money to go and do that opportunity, as opposed to missing out, especially with something that could be potentially really valuable to you. So an example of this is if you earn £200 from a gig, set aside like 60% of that for your living, 50% sort of £120 for living, £50 for reinvestment, and £30 for your buffer. At least that buffer will pay for a train ticket somewhere or something like that. It allows you to stay financially stable, continue investing in your career, and reduce stress and decision fatigue. The good thing about being a musician is that most of the time you don't want to spend money on anything else. So, what better thing to spend it on yourself?
Certainly not holidays.
No, what's that? Not one of those.
Do you mean gig in other countries?
Yeah, exactly. Why go on holiday when you can work and have a holiday at the same time?
When you can time.
And then we've got the time value system. So this is more about so your time is one of the most valuable resources. Not all tasks are equal. Some tasks move your career forward, and those tasks are the ones that take the least time. Others keep things running and drain your time and energy. Basically, respect your time as much as you respect money and your craft. Start categorizing your time into high-value work, writing, performing, creating, building relationships, low-value work, admin, emails, organisation, repetitive tasks. Get the low value work done first, as we said earlier, because it's the stuff that you don't want to do, and when you do the thing that you don't want to do first, it removes all guilt and everything else we said earlier. You know.
It's all the minutiae.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
The minutiae is like all the little bits that you will forget about.
Yes.
But they congregate around
Yeah.
The big bits. You know?
Exactly. And yeah, often when you get the hardest task done first, the rest of it makes the life a lot easier. Then ask, is this the best use of my time right now? And then how you apply this system is to batch low value tasks together, i.e. your management day. Automate where possible. Potentially use AI for this. Don't use AI for creation, please. But AI for being an admin assistant, absolutely. Yeah, voice to text, that kind of stuff. Just anything that makes things easier for you is just use it. And outsource if it becomes viable. So, you know, if you need a PA to book in your meetings and things like that, or maybe a tour manager or like a mentor or something like that, definitely do that if you're able to. Even small changes can free up some time, reduce fatigue, and increase output. It matters because if all of your time is spent on low value work, your career slows down. If more of your time is spent on high value work, progress increases. But having the distinction and getting stuff done in the right order basically just frees up your brain to do the best it can do. If you take one thing from this section, there we go. Sustainable careers aren't built on how much money you make, they're built on how you manage it. The big idea, the music industry doesn't become sustainable, you do. So, yeah, it's a pretty profound statement there. What sustainability really means is sustainable careers aren't built on one big moment, they're built through small decisions, repeated consistency over time, showing up, learning, adapting, recovering, and continuing. Your challenge, pick one thing, not 5, 10, just one. What's one thing you could change this week from what we've talked about? And maybe once a month add a new element in and build it up over time. Don't rush it. There we go. Thank you. And almost finished on time as well, so that's good. We started a little late, so I don't mind about that. And then I made sure to fit in 15 minutes for Q&A. But we could just have a chat and a vape.